55. O Maker of the material world, thou Holy One, how far from the fire, how far from the water, how far from the consecrated bundles of Beresma, how far from the faithful? 57. Ahura Mazda answered, 30 paces from the fire, 30 paces from the water, 30 paces from the consecrated bundles of Beresma, 3 paces from the faithful. 18 and 19 is seen as 58 to 63. There, on that place, shall the worshippers of Mazda erect an enclosure, and therein shall they establish him with food, and therein shall they establish him with clothes, with the coarsest food, and with the most worn-out clothes. That food he shall live on, those clothes he shall wear, and thus shall they let him live, until he is grown to the age of a Hana, or of a Urura, or of a Irista Kshudra. The Armestga, the place for the unclean, is the enclosure mentioned in what they call 18. And Hana means literally an old man. Zaurura, a man broken down by age. Pa Irista Kshudra, one whose seed is dried up. These words seem to have acquired the technical meaning of 50, 60, and 70 years old. 20 and 21 is seen as 64 to 71. And when he is grown to the age of a Hana, or of a Zaurura, or of a Pa Irista Kshudra, then the worshippers of Mazda shall order a man strong, victorious, and skillful to flay the skin off his body and cut the head off his neck on the top of the mountain, and they shall deliver his corpse unto the greediest of the corpse-eating creatures made by Ahura Mazda, to the greedy ravens, with these words, the man here has repented of all his evil thoughts, words, and deeds. If he has committed any other evil deed, it is remitted by his repentance. And if he has committed no other evil deed, he is absolved by his repentance forever and ever. It seems as if the law had formally directed that he should be immediately put to death, but that afterwards, when the rigor of the law had abated, the object which had previously been fulfilled by his death was then attained by his confinement. He was allowed to live in confinement till he was old and all but dead, and he was put to death by the law just before he would have died in the usual course of nature. Certain Ravets put the carrier alone among the number of the Margarzon. He is not only to be punished in this world, but in the other too. He is condemned to feed in hell on corpses of men. 72. O Maker of the material world, thou Holy One, who is the third that rejoices the earth with greatest joy, Ahura Mazda answered, it is he who fills up most burrows of the creatures of Engra A'inu. 75. O Maker of the material world, thou Holy One, who is the fourth that rejoices the earth with the greatest joy. Ahura Mazda answered, it is he who cultivates most corn, kernels, not, what we usually mean when we say corn, grass and fruit. O Spitma, Zarathustra, the waters ground that is dry, or dries ground that is too wet. 79. Unhappy is the land that has long lain unsown with the seed of the sower, and wants a good husbandman. like a well-shapen maiden who is long gone childless and wants a good husband. 84. He who would till the earth, O Spitma Zarathustra, with the left arm and the right, with the right arm and the left, unto him will she bring forth plenty, like a loving bride on her bed. Unto her beloved, the bride will bring forth children. The earth will bring forth plenty of fruit. 26 and 27 is seen as 87 to 90. He who would till the earth, O Spitma Zarathustra, with the left arm and the right, with the right arm and the left, unto him thus says the earth, O thou man, who dost till me with the left arm and the right, with the right arm and the left, hither shall people ever come and beg for bread. Here shall I ever go on, bringing forth all manner of food, bringing forth profusion of corn, or bearing corn for the first time. When something grows up, it will grow up for the first. 28 and 29 is seen as 91 to 95. He who does not till the earth, O Spitama Zarathustra, with the left arm and the right, with the right arm and the left, unto him thus says the earth, O thou man, I who dost not till me, with the left arm and the right, with the right arm and the left, ever shalt thou stand at the door of the stranger, among those who beg for bread, ever shalt thou wait there for the refuse that is brought unto thee, brought by those who have profusion of wealth. They take for themselves what is good and send to thee what is bad, and literally what is the stomach of the law. Oh, the law of Moss says in the next verse. 96. O maker of the material world, thou holy one, what is the food that fills the law of Mazda? Ahura Mazda answered, it is sowing corn again and again, O Spitma Zarathustra. 99. He who sows corn sows holiness. He makes the law of Mazda grow higher and higher, and he makes the law of Mazda as fat as he can, with 100 acts of adoration, 1,000 oblations, 10,000 sacrifices. 105. When barley is coming forth, the da'evas start up. When the corn is growing rank, then faint the da'evas hearts. When the corn is being ground, the da'evas groan. When the wheat is coming forth, the da'evas are destroyed. In that house they can no longer stay. From that house they are beaten away. Wherein wheat is thus coming forth, it is as though red-hot iron were turned about in their throats. When there is plenty of corn. 111. But let us... the translation, acts of adoration and oblations, is doubtful. The words in the text, apax lagamena, which are traditionally translated as feet and breasts, the commentary has as follows. He makes the law of Mazda as fat as a child, could be made by means of 100 feet, that is to say, of 50 servants, walking to rock him, of 1,000 breasts, that is, of 500 nurses, of 10,000 sacrifices performed for his wheel. Barley corn got up again, and sore surprised them all. And there's a possible rendition of the whole, the ground and coming forth, but of when the sodus, a sort of grain, is coming forth, when pistra, another sort of grain, is coming forth. Okay, now on to 111, after, the comment. Then let the priest teach people this holy saying, no one who does not eat has strength to do works of holiness, strength to do works of husbandry, strength to beget children by eating every material creature, lives by not eating it, dies away. 116. O maker of the material world, thou holy one, who is the fifth that rejoices the earth with greatest joy? Ahura Mazda answered, it is he who, tilling the earth, O Spitama Zarathustra, kindly and piously gives to one of the faithful. The Ashodad are alms. 118. He who is tilling the earth, O Spitamo Zarathustra, would not kindly and piously give to one of the faithful. He shall fall down into the darkness, Aspenta Armaete, down into the world of woe, the dismal realm, down into the house of hell. And then we move on to part 4, the darkness is Spenta Arameti, means the earth, but 122. O maker of the material world, thou holy one, if a man shall bury in the earth either the corpse of a dog or the corpse of a man, and if he shall not disinter it within half a year, what is the penalty that he shall pay? Ahura Mazda answered, 500 stripes with the Aspahe Astra, 500 stripes with the Sra Osho Karana. 126. O maker of the material world, thou holy one, if a man shall bury in the earth either the corpse of a dog or the corpse of a man, and if he shall not disinter it within a year, what is the penalty that he shall pay? Ahura Mazda answered, 1,000 stripes with the Aspahe Astra, 1,000 stripes with the Sra Osho Krana. 110. O maker of the material world, thou holy one, if a man shall bury in the earth either the corpse of a dog or the corpse of a man, and if he shall not disinter it within the second year, what is the penalty for it? What is the atonement for it? What is the cleansing from it? 135. Ahura Mazda answered, for that deed there is nothing that can pay, nothing that can atone, nothing that can cleanse from it. It is a trespass for which there's no atonement forever and ever. 137. When is it so? It is so if the sinner be a professor of the law of Mazda, or one who has been taught in it. But if he be not a professor of the law of Mazda, nor one who has been taught in it, then this law of Mazda takes his sin from him, if he confesses it, and resolves never to commit again such forbidden deeds. As he must have known that he was committing sins, and if he did not know that he was committing sins, and sin meaning a mistake, so yeah. 142. The law of Mazda, indeed, O Spitama Zarathustra, takes away from him who confesses it the bonds of his sin. It takes away the sin of breach of trust. It takes away the sin of murdering one of the faithful. It takes away the sin of burying a corpse. It takes away the sin of deeds for which there is no atonement. It takes away the heaviest penalties of sin. It takes away any sin that may be sinned. 149. In the same way, the law of Mazda, O Spitama Zarathustra, cleanses the faithful from every evil thought, word, and deed, as the swift rushing mighty wind cleanses the plain. So let all deeds thou doest be henceforth good, O Zarathustra. A full atonement for thy sin is effected by means of the law of Mazda. And if he makes patet and says to himself, I will never henceforth sin again, if not knowingly committed, the following note, Dra Asha, refusing to give back a deposit. He knows that it is forbidden to steal, but he fancies that robbing the rich to give to the poor is a pious deed. Or better, a Mazdian, but one has committed a capital crime. He knows that it is allowed to kill the Mar Garzan, but he does not know that it is not allowed to do so without an order from the judge. He knows that it is forbidden to bury a corpse, but he fancies that if one manages so, that dogs or foxes may not take it to the fire and to the water, he behaves piously. Or possibly the sin of usury, he knows that it is lawful to take high interest, but he does not know that it is not lawful to do so from the faithful, from chaff. Well, that was one of the things that occurred among some of the conservative groups with the Jews, and We have that going on here is that the Magian, and other, the Magian, the Achaemenian, the Sassanian, and other sorts of things get confused as if they're really the same thing as, the same way the law of Moses cleanses the faithful from every evil thought, word, and deed, as a swift rushing mighty wind cleanses the plain. So let all the deeds thou dost be henceforth good, O Zarathustra. A full atonement for thy sin is effected by means of the law of Mazda. And, repeating verse 149, known as 42 again, is important to point out, as much as I'm not advocating a lot of these death penalties, that which back in the day some of them could have been, okay, but in this, it's not something that can be implemented on all the criminals of such, and there doesn't really seem to be any possibility, so that doesn't, and the lack of gradation with some of these things. But the purpose is that you pay, it deters, and the person pays for their crime in this world. Now, we see at least in the comment there, that that's not the view that they have. But, if there is no repentance or whatever, no, acceptance, like, who was it that when they went to hang the guy, he said, hurry up, I want to be, I want to show up in hell before lunch, or something like that. Who was that guy? But yeah, some people, execution and all that doesn't do the thing, but there certainly shouldn't be that many death penalty crimes.